Hello.
Go make yourself a drink and I'll be down in 2 shakes of a lamb's tail. The bar's by the fireplace.
Pulp Fiction is an iconic motion picture directed by Quentin Tarantino. It was released in 1994 and is not only one of the best Tarantino works, but it also had a huge impact on pop culture. We'll tell you how the cinematic masterpiece was made in our video. The creation story. Quentin Tarantino came up with the idea for the movie together with his old friend Roger Avary. They've known each other since they were young. They worked at the Video Archives movie rental store in Manhattan Beach, California. The guys were working on a script together, and at some point, they decided to come up with a short story as it would be easier to film. However, they soon realized that no one was shooting short movies and turned the draft into a trilogy. One part was supposed to be written by Tarantino, the second part by Avary, and the third part would be created by some other director. The 1963 Italian 3-part horror movie Black Sabbath, Three Faces of Fear, was the inspiration behind the two friends project that they titled Black Mask, after the crime fiction magazine of the same name. They never brought to life the idea with the three directors though. Tarantino turned his script into the movie Reservoir Dogs, while Avary's story was at the core of the storyline about the boxer and his watch in Pulp Fiction. Tarantino ended up directing the movie himself. Thanks to the success of Reservoir Dogs, the biggest movie studios spotted Tarantino and started offering him to come on board of smash blockbusters. However, he returned to the trilogy concept and went to Amsterdam to finish working on his ideas. He bought a school notebook there, convinced that it would be enough for the script. However, he had to buy a few more notebooks, and Vincent mentions Amsterdam in the movie, alluding to the place where the cinematic masterpiece was created. By the way, another place mentioned in the movie was Knoxville, where Butch went to meet his family and where his grandfather got the gold watch. The town was mentioned for a reason. This third biggest city in Tennessee is the hometown of Quentin. As for the stories depicted in the movie, Tarantino wanted to play with cliché crime storylines and twist them beyond recognition. Roger Avary came on board to work on new plot lines. When the handwritten script was finished, the director gave it to his friend Linda Chen to type it out. Linda shared that Quentin had a nightmare of handwriting, and the amount of grammar mistakes was unfathomable. It seemed like Tarantino made them on purpose because after Chen proofread and edited the text, he tried to change it back to the original. Instead of paying her for her work, Chen asked Quentin to pet sit her bunny named Honey Bunny. The director took care of the pet, but it passed away after some time. Tarantino decided to pay tribute to the poor bunny and make it up for his assistant by giving the nickname Honey Bunny to Amanda Plummer's character. But let's go back to how the iconic movie was created. Quentin sent the script to the film company TriStar Pictures, owned by Columbia Pictures, but its head, Mike Medavoy, deemed the story too crazy, criticizing the excessive violence and scenes of using drugs.
Why the fuck didn't you tell us somebody was in the bathroom? Slip your mind? Did you forget that someone was in there with a goddamn hand?
After that, the script got to Harvey Weinstein, a Miramax co-founder. When he saw the 159-page work, he shouted, "What is this, Yellow Pages?" But unlike his colleague from TriStar, Weinstein saw the potential in Tarantino's work, and Pulp Fiction became a beneficial investment for the studio. By the way, from that moment on, the producer was involved in all directorial ventures of Quentin up until the 2019 movie Once Upon a Time in Hollywood. People say that the studio wanted to promote Pulp Fiction as a one-author project, hence the words Quentin Tarantino were put at the end of the movie. And even though Roger Avary was given credit as the co-writer, it allegedly led to a falling out between the pals who haven't worked together ever since. Casting. When the project was given the green light, the actor casting began. Tarantino was thinking of bringing back Michael Madsen to reprise his role in Reservoir Dogs, but the actor was busy doing another project and couldn't join Quentin on the set. The director had to change the character's name from Vic Vega to Vincent Vega. Tarantino wanted to make them brothers and had an idea to make a separate movie about them, but this never happened. The Miramax producers demanded that the role go to either Sean Penn or William Hurt, while Tarantino was considering Tim Roth, for whom he wrote a new character later. Other candidates include Alec Baldwin, Gary Oldman, Michael Keaton, Denzel Washington, Daniel Day-Lewis, and others. The movie creators were even considering James Gandolfini, who starred in the movie True Romance, scripted by Tarantino, but the actor rejected the offer and put in a good word for his friend John Travolta. Travolta was going through a career crisis at the time. In the 80s, he decided not to star in the movies American Gigolo and An Officer and a Gentleman, which were a success. John also admitted that he made a mistake when he refused to join the cast of Forrest Gump, and he also received regular Golden Raspberry Mock Awards nominations. That's why the offer from Tarantino gave him a lucky break. Quentin let the actor choose the role, Vincent Vega in Pulp Fiction or Seth Gecko in From Dusk Till Dawn. Travolta decided to go with the first option, even though a Scientology official, the actor joined the movement in the 70s, advised him not to do the project as it would ruin the star's career. The biggest challenge Travolta faced while preparing for the role was studying the addiction of his character, as he had never tried any drugs.
If I shoot up here, hey, mi casa, su casa, muchas gracias.
Tarantino couldn't help either, but he knew a recovering addict. The man told John to get drunk on tequila and go into a hot tub to get an idea of what taking drugs feels like. The actor followed the advice, and his wife, Kelly Preston, was happy to join him. Fun fact, Travolta came up with the iconic long hair look for Vincent Vega. He also added the cigarettes, although originally Tarantino had a more conventional vision of the character in mind. The director wanted to give the other main role of Mia Wallace to his muse, Uma Thurman. The producers, on the other hand, were looking into other candidates and auditioned Isabella Rossellini, Meg Ryan, Daryl Hannah, Joan Cusack, and Michelle Pfeiffer. The director favored only the latter actress. Apart from that, the star of the comedy TV show Seinfeld, Julia Louis-Dreyfus, had to turn down the offer because of the contract she signed with the showrunners. And Rosanna Arquette, who also auditioned for the role of Mia, ended up landing the role of Jodie. At some point, Quentin Tarantino was really considering Jennifer Aniston since his favorite Thurman didn't want to be cast in the project. But the persistent director read the script to Uma over the phone and finally got her on board. As for Tarantino, he couldn't pick a role for himself, Jimmy or Lance. He decided on Jimmy as he had to be behind the camera while filming the scene where Lance saves Mia.
Give it a shot. Give it here. Give me that. All right, tell me what to do. Okay.
The casting process for the role of Butch was one of the most interesting. The director planned to give the role to a famous Hollywood star. Sylvester Stallone was the perfect candidate since he had already played a boxer in the iconic movie Rocky, but things didn't work out. The other famous actor who was offered the role was Mickey Rourke, and he had real-life boxing experience. He rejected the offer to focus on his sports career, not to mention that he didn't really get the script. Later, he regretted the decision. Other candidates were Sean Penn, Nicolas Cage, Aidan Quinn, and Johnny Depp. And then, Tarantino rewrote the character and offered the role to Bruce Willis. The die-hard star was intending to play Vincent, and he was very upset he wasn't cast. But he jumped at the opportunity to work with Quentin as he was a huge fan of Reservoir Dogs. By the way, the actor who played young Butch was Chandler Lindauer, and it was his only role. Aside from Tim Roth, Tarantino created a role specifically for Amanda Plummer as well. Apart from that, the character of Winston Wolf, the Wolf, was written into the plot specifically for Harvey Keitel.
You're Jimmy, right? This is your house?
Sure is.
I'm Winston Wolf. I solve problems.
Good, we got.
Steve Buscemi was supposed to play Jimmy, but he couldn't take the role due to contractual obligations in other projects. However, he still appeared in Pulp Fiction as the waiter dressed as Buddy Holly, who took Mia and Vincent's order. The roles of Jules was also written with a specific actor in mind, Samuel L. Jackson. But at the early stages of production, Tarantino thought about changing the character, turning him into a typical English guy, and giving the role to Gary Oldman. Eventually, he gave up the idea and auditioned Lawrence Fishburne, Eddie Murphy, Charles Stanley Dutton, and Michael Beach. As for the producers, they really liked the audition of Paul Calderon. They almost went through with him, but when Jackson heard about that, he flew to LA for a callback audition to get the role. Calderon ended up with a small part of a bartender named Paul. By the way, Samuel allegedly thought that the first audition was just a table reading, so he didn't really try performing. The author had John Cusack in mind for the role of Lance, but he turned down the offer, so they went with their second option, Eric Stoltz. The other candidates included Michael Keaton, Gary Oldman, Johnny Depp, Nicolas Cage, Eric Roberts, and others. We should mention that the producers wanted to choose Oldman because he had already played a similar character in the movie True Romance. By the way, the role of Lance's wife, Jodie, was given to Rosanna Arquette, although another actress, Pam Grier, did great at the audition. Tarantino decided not to cast her as he couldn't picture her being bossed around as it was described in the script. But he did work with Greer later, offering her the titular role in the movie Jackie Brown. Quentin Tarantino initially designed the role of Zed for Christopher Jones. The other candidates were Sean Penn, Michael Perks, and Craig Hammond, but Peter Green won. For the role of Brett, Quentin chose Frank Whaley, but the actor almost missed his chance to work on the project. The thing is that he was working on the TV movie To Dance with the White Dog at the time, and the filming took a bit longer than expected because the set was flooded due to the rain. The filming dates overlapped, and Whaley was ready to drop the TV project to make it to the shooting of Pulp Fiction. He tried by hook or crook to get approval to film with Tarantino, but luckily it didn't get too far, and the actor managed to work on both projects. Unlike Green, Ving Rhames, who played Marcellus Wallace, had to turn down a role in the comedy Renaissance Man for Pulp Fiction. By the way, the original choice for the role was Sid Haig, but he dropped out at the last moment. Some small parts in the movie were given to stand-up comedians. Julia Sweeney plays Raquel, Wolf's girlfriend. Phil Lamar portrays Marvin, while Karen Maruyama and Kathy Griffin are with Marcellus when he wakes up. All four are alumni of the Groundlings improv troupe. Apart from that, Tarantino was in love with Kathy Griffin, although it was purely platonic. Tarantino is known to take inspiration from the works of other directors. For instance, he took the character of Esmeralda Villalobos from the short movie Curdle and gave the role to the same actress, Angela Jones. The filming process. The main filming of Pulp Fiction started on September 20, 1993 in Culver City, Los Angeles, and in Hawthorne Grill restaurant located in Hawthorne, not far from Culver City. While shooting scenes with Quentin as Jimmy, Robert Rodriguez took the director's chair, but he wasn't mentioned in the credits. While working on costumes, Tarantino sought inspiration from the French director Jean-Pierre Melville, who believed the clothes his character wore were their symbolic armors. Much attention was paid to the hairstyles of the characters. For instance, Jules was initially supposed to wear dreadlocks, but the makeup artist tried a lot of other wigs, which included the afro wig that looked great on Samuel L. Jackson and which the director loved. By the way, Jackson came up with the most part of the scene where Jules recites a Bible verse. The first part about the righteous man and the tyranny of evil men was made up, while the second part is a direct quote from the Bible. Did you know that some things that appear on screen actually belong to the director? For instance, Jules' wallet and the 1964 cherry red Chevrolet Chevelle Malibu that Vincent Vega drove. The car was stolen during the filming and it wasn't found until 2013. The police officers were looking for another stolen car, but they accidentally saw someone taking the convertible apart, so they checked the VIN number. Turned out that it was changed, and the new owner had no idea that he bought a stolen car. There was also room for improvisation on set. John Travolta came up with the response,
I don't know. That's a good question.
when Mia asked why people always had to talk about something to get comfortable. Samuel L. Jackson, in his turn, randomly turned over the table, and you can see the real reaction of Frank Whaley, who plays Brett. In the scene where Captain Coons, portrayed by Christopher Walken, gives Butch the gold watch, Walken made an extensive pause in his story. He stopped because he forgot his line, but he quickly came to his senses and pretended the pause was meant to be there. They decided to keep the take in the movie as it looked convincing. The scene of Vince and Mia dancing in the restaurant was replicated from the tragic comedy 8½" by Federico Fellini. In the movie by the iconic Italian director, the dance was performed by Barbara Steele and Mario Pisu. By the way, Uma Thurman was anxious while they were filming this scene because she was aware of Travolta's dancing skills. On top of that, she didn't like the song You Never Can Tell by Chuck Berry they were dancing to. She shared her worries with Tarantino, but he assured her that the song was a perfect fit. It's funny that in 2015, a scene with Travolta resurfaced on the internet and became a meme. Someone took the video with Vincent Vega and edited the character in a toy store. The GIF was captioned, "My reaction when I ask my daughter what she wants for Christmas and she says a doll." The meme with confused Travolta hasn't lost its relevance to this day. By the way, the book that Vincent reads throughout the movie while he's on the toilet is Modesty Blaze by Peter O'Donnell. The work was a popular British comic book featuring a female secret agent. Tarantino is a huge fan of this character, and he even entertained the idea of making a movie with her. It's also interesting that while shooting the scene where Mia received an adrenaline shot in her heart, Travolta was taking the needle out of Uma Thurman's chest. They reversed the footage during the editing stage. Quentin loves to place Easter eggs in his movies by making allusions to the movies he got inspired by or to events from his life. For example, the poster for the fight Vossler vs. Martinez is a reference to the friends from Video Archive, Russell Vossler and Jerry Martinez. As for Coolidge vs. Wilson, it's an homage to the US presidents Calvin Coolidge and Woodrow Wilson. Tarantino, having a passion for collecting board games based on TV shows, spent the time free from filming playing the Welcome Back, Kotter board game with John Travolta. Fun fact, the game was inspired by the TV series of the same name that Travolta appeared in the late 70s. Movie mistakes and errors. There are a lot of mistakes in Pulp Fiction. Apart from inconsistencies like ice being in glasses in one shot and then disappearing in the other during the scene of Jules and Vincent sitting in a diner, there were also some weird things happening to the paper bag in the scene with the burger and the burger itself, but there were also more interesting mistakes. The lipstick Mia wore at Jackrabbit Slim's also changes throughout the scene. It goes from dark red to nude pink, and when the character makes an order in the same scene, the cigarette constantly goes from her right hand to her left hand. In another scene where Vincent and Jules get ready for some showering in the backyard, you can see Jules take off his pants twice.
You sure this is absolutely necessary?
You know what you two look like?
What?
Like a couple of guys who just blew up somebody's head. Toss them in Jim's garbage bag.
Apart from that, when Butch is driving Fabian's Honda, the windows go from clean to dirty depending on where they film, inside or outside the car. There were also some inconsistencies around the weather and time of day. For instance, when Vince takes Mia home, you can see daylight coming through the door, but during the rest of the scene, it's dark outside. And when Butch goes back to get his watch and gets out of the car, the sky is gray and gloomy. However, in the next shot, it's completely clear. Apart from visual mistakes, there are also some mishaps with sound effects. Like after the waiter takes Mia and Vincent to their table, he leaves with the phrase,
Meals here at Jackrabbit Slim's. Thank you.
but his lips are not in sync with the sound. There are some very obvious mistakes in the movie as well. While talking about Big Kahuna Burgers, Jules calls Brett Brad. In the same scene, Vince states that a quarter pounder with cheese is called
Royale with cheese.
Royale with cheese.
while in reality, it's just called Royale cheese. Deleted scenes. Pulp Fiction is 154 minutes long, and Tarantino brought his vision to life right to a T. That's why he didn't release a director's cut. However, in special editions, Quentin included scenes he liked but which didn't fit in with the narrative. For instance, before picking up Mia, Vincent goes to Lance and the latter recalls a time when a gas station worker gave him wrong road directions. The monologue was stalling the time and the director wanted to get to the scene where Vincent meets Mia, so he decided to cut the scene. Another scene that didn't make the final cut showed Mia interrogating Vincent. In it, the young man holds a camera and makes him answer her questions. During the little interview, it turns out that folk singer Suzanne Vega is related to Vincent. Tarantino cut the scene because he thought that the character answering questions on camera was cliché. Another Vincent and Mia scene was them having an awkward conversation in the restaurant. The director deleted the moment when the characters find out they have known the same person in Amsterdam, although it alluded to the cancelled Tarantino movie about the Vega brothers. In Butch's storyline, Tarantino decided to shorten the taxi scene in order to keep up the pace of the movie. In the extended version, Esmeralda explains that her last name means of the wolves, while Butch gives a deeper and more philosophical answer to the question about death. And when Winston Wolf, Jules, and Vincent go to an auto salvage, its owner, Master Joe, is supposed to appear on screen. He was played by Tarantino's favorite actor, Dick Miller. But the director wanted to get straight to the next scene, so he had to reluctantly delete this moment. It's also interesting that the movie versions vary from country to country. The movie often censored scenes are dialogues where characters use illicit language and substances, but the most peculiar versions come from the UAE and Saudi Arabia. They edited Tarantino's movie in such a way that every story is shown chronologically with no interruptions. Worldwide recognition. Tarantino wanted the movie to look epic, as if it cost $20 to $25 million, but the studio gave him $8 million and he spent 5 of them to pay the actors. Having such a star-studded cast could lead to exhausting negotiations about their pay. That's why producers offered equal pay to the main cast, $20,000 per week. John Travolta reportedly spent 7 weeks on set and got $140,000. Other sources say that he made $150,000. Travolta joked that he basically paid for his role himself as he lived in the Four Seasons Hotel during the filming. Uma Thurman earned $300,000, while Bruce Willis was an exception. He spent only 18 days on the set and got $800,000. This is the biggest salary any Pulp Fiction actor got. However, it was still much less than the die-hard star usually asked for. For reference, one of his previous projects, the action movie The Last Boy Scout, brought Bruce $14 million. The first people to see the final cut were friends and colleagues of Tarantino. He hosted a private movie screening for them on May 1st, 1994. It seemed to have gone not so well as the director was pretty dispirited. Since the movie was unlike anything they'd ever seen, the viewers thought it was a crazy Quentin movie, and he himself didn't really believe in Pulp Fiction. Quentin's friend Robert Rodriguez, however, didn't come to the screening. Although he took part in the filming process, he didn't see the end result. Rodriguez tried to cheer his friend up before the upcoming Cannes Festival, but after the first public screening, everything changed. Tarantino's movie became a sensation at Cannes. It scored the main prize, the Golden Palm, and was included in movie festivals around the world for several months, collecting praise from critics. Then, Pulp Fiction went into general release in South Korea, Japan, and Slovakia. The US premiere happened on October 14th. Production marketing costs of $10 million quickly paid off thanks to selling rights for $11 million and record-breaking box office results. Within the first weekend, the movie topped the American box office and it ended up grossing $108 million in the US, becoming the first indie movie that surpassed the $100 million mark. The movie grossed $213 million worldwide. By the way, Pulp Fiction is one of the first movies that was promoted online. It's interesting that the earliest DVD edition for Ireland had an MA15+ rating. The next editions received an 18+ rating. During the 1994 to 1995 award season, the movie Pulp Fiction received many awards and even more nominations. The motion picture scored a Saturn Award for Best Action, Adventure, and Thriller Film. The script was recognized by the British Academy Film Awards, Golden Globe Awards, and Oscars. The Academy Awards also nominated the masterpiece in the categories Best Picture and Best Film Editing. Tarantino received a nomination for Best Director, while John Travolta, Samuel L. Jackson, and Uma Thurman were nominated for their performances. It was the first and only Oscar nomination for Samuel until he received an honorary award in 2022 for his outstanding career in Hollywood. As for Uma, she didn't enter the race for the prestigious award ever since, but she became widely known as Tarantino's muse. However, she appeared in lots of other successful and high-budget projects. For Travolta, Pulp Fiction became a comeback movie. He managed to reboot his career and his salary started growing. By 1997, he was making $20 million per project. The movie had a similar effect on Bruce Willis's career, whose movies outside the Die Hard franchise were considered disappointing. After starring in Pulp Fiction, people started seeing him as a serious actor. Fun fact, out of 54 actors from the cast, 50 of them got their breakthrough thanks to Pulp Fiction, according to an unofficial list of actors who got famous due to projects. Starring in the project took Ving Rhames' career to another level. He got cast in blockbuster movies like Con Air and Mission Impossible. Tim Roth and Harvey Keitel kept on working with Tarantino while still getting offers from other directors. Eric Stoltz has also built a successful career both on the big screen and on TV. As for Christopher Walken, Pulp Fiction was added to his collection of his movies alongside Sleepy Hollow, Catch Me If You Can, The Stepford Wives, and Dune Part 2. Pulp Fiction is more than just a masterfully crafted piece of work. It's a part of the movie universe created by Quentin Tarantino. The director thinks through every character and weaves an intricate web that connects them and allows for infinite references. This is why his movies are so interesting to watch and dissect. It's no wonder that Pulp Fiction is still being included in lists of greatest movies of all time. And in 2013, the film was selected by the Library of Congress for preservation in the National Register.
I think we should be leaving now.
Yeah, that's probably a good idea.
Which scenes from the iconic movie have made a lasting impression on you?